Hey everybody, welcome back to Backlog Banter. I'm your boy Abram, joined as always by Mr. Tucker Hazel, and we're also joined by my air conditioner. I'm not turning it off, so get over it. Today we are talking about the Nintendo Direct that just happened at the time of recording just a couple hours ago. There's a lot to go over, so we're going to waste no time. We're going to get right into it. But as usual, I'm gonna pump the brakes just enough for us to give our sort of 40,000 feet impression of the Direct and how it struck us. So Tucker, what do you think of this Direct overall?
Well, I gotta say, I disagree with you. I disagree with you that is pumping the brakes to talk about it from 40,000 feet. Because for me, that's all gas, baby. You gotta slam on the gas to talk about a Direct like this, which is the first full Direct, general Direct of the Switch 2 era. And it really felt like it. You know, it was such an interesting feeling going into the beginning of the Switch when so few games were announced. And that first January presentation and then the Summer Direct in 2017 were both so full of new series that hadn't had games on Switch yet. And I do feel like this felt like that rebirth moment for me. Of course, I do think probably I ultimately prefer the Switch 2 presentation. Just 'cause I think, frankly, I think Bananza is probably a cooler announcement than anything in this. But like, that's not besmirching this at all, because I think this is just barely a step down from that. So many new announcements, so many surprises. I think that maybe because they also do partner showcases, the third party section in terms of new announcements was a little bit softer. But when you were coming into this with 5 new first party announcements and updates on like another 4, this is for me basically everything you could want out of a Direct. I think for some people, missing a tentpole EPD title may make it feel a little bit lesser than, but I do think that where Nintendo shines is in the breadth of support they give to their series, the breadth of genres, and everything here looked really, really high quality, and there was still space for surprises.
And would I be right in saying, I'm just pulling up the press release now, but would I be right in saying that there were no EPD games announced? Is that right?
Announced?
Yeah, no EPD games announced.
I mean, probably EPDA is involved in Galaxy 1+2 in some capacity.
They also worked on 3D All-Star, so that's true by half. But in terms of a brand new announcement from EPD, we didn't get one. No. But that's not really relevant to me personally. I think that this was
well, it's also funny to note we got 4 EPD announcements in the last showcase.
Right.
I want everyone to remember. Bonanza, Dragon Drive, Welcome Tour, and Mario Kart are all internally developed games.
Only 2 of those are significance, but we reviewed all 4.
I'm just being categorical here. What if I'm going to be the guy that knows all the Nintendo teams? I have to let people know. You got to talk about it.
I appreciate the shout out, by the way, for EPD8 working on the remaster. That is a sharp call, and they will have worked on it. Yes. For me, I thought this was an excellent Direct. There's really nothing for me that felt like it was left on the table. Obviously, some stuff literally was like we didn't see Splatoon Raiders, we didn't see we didn't see Rhythm Heaven, there's no cause for concern there. You know, that's Nintendo is in a moment right now where they have such a rich slate of titles. We counted that there's already 10 Nintendo published games confirmed for next year. That also involves some Pokemon stuff. The publishing of that is. I don't know what it'll be, but also that's Nintendo exclusive software. So next year's already very full. This calendar year now is really, we still have 5 more games, and it's September, right? So there's so much content here. I really couldn't ask for much more, and I think the announcements we got really spoke to me, pretty much entirely. There's nothing that Nintendo showed off here, and Pokemon Company showed off here that I will not be playing. Mm-hmm. And that's very exciting. And insofar as the other stuff, I don't really care. I'm not coming into Nintendo Direct. I wonder what Bandai Namco's up to. I don't give a fuck. They have like 9 opportunities throughout the year to announce things. When I come to the Nintendo Direct, my mind is at what is the first party and the second party up to, and I think we got a really good indication of that today.
Though it is funny, this was the least involved Bandai Namco has been in a Nintendo presentation in a while. I don't think there were any new Bandai Namco games announced. Whereas we got Patapon and Hot Shots Golf and Katamari
and Pac-Man
Repack. Yeah, like they go crazy in these usually. But ultimately, whatever. I mean, like the biggest third party game announced new is Dragon Quest 7 Reimagined.
Oh, well, it depends on what you mean by new. I would say Requiem is the most consequential third party announcement.
Yeah, it's not a new game. That's not a new.
Sure.
It's not a new game, but those are definitely the 2. Quickly on Dragon Quest, I actually do think it looks pretty
Yeah.
cool. It's such a leaning into a strong visual art style that it makes it feel like to me it fills the same niche as Link's Awakening did, the remake, where it's like this is a strong visual style that makes it feel very distinct. This isn't just a polishing up of the models or a cleaning up of the backgrounds or even a 2D HD that's reusing some sprites. It looks like a new game. It's just structurally
They're mogging us,
like Link's Awakening was.
They're looks maxing.
Yes.
They're bone crushing. I mean, the jaws in his characters are tremendous. I think for me personally,
Thanks, really.
like I would love to get more involved in the world of Dragon Quest because I think the characters are so funny and that does a lot of heavy lifting for me. But I think for me, Dragon Quest 3 and then Dragon Quest 1 and 2 sort of satisfies what I need out of Dragon Quest, but 7 looked cool.
Yeah.
Tucker, let's think of this direct almost in two parts because I think that's how Nintendo thought of it. We had the 40th anniversary part, and then we had everything else. And we even had a little like emblem in the corner that designated the 40th anniversary portion, and even a little graphic that began it. Whether this was two showcases that they put into one, or it was always intended to be this way, it felt very distinct. So, of the Mario section, we got a lot of content for Mario and friends, which I think is a key point here.
Correct.
It's
interesting that so the structural comparison that this brings to mind is obviously the 35th anniversary when they had a Mario specific direct, and that was like it was like 18 minutes of just Mario stuff. Now there wasn't as much here. There's still a lot. There was like 15 minutes or something.
It's similar.
What's interesting is that this to me felt similarly underwhelming in the moment for Mario stuff as I felt in the 35th. I'm notoriously, at least to you and I, was pretty underwhelmed by that showing of games in 2020. I've since warmed on that quite a bit. I mean, I like Bowser's Fury a lot. I obviously played 3D All-Stars. There's a lot of spin-offs announced there. But for this, I'm not even gonna play the Galaxy games, I don't think. And I'm not going to play the Wonder expansion. So for Mario games, it was really just Aces
and Yoshi.
Or sorry, Tennis. Well, it was Tennis and Yoshi, but Yoshi isn't a Mario game. But
I'm
was
winning
a weird
so hard.
Thing for Mario.
I'm winning so hard with now everybody changing their view on if Donkey Kong is a Mario game. The discourse I started years ago is bearing fruit today. But I agree with you. We've been talking about in our predictions video, and it's a Nintendo Forecast, the GOAT talking point, that the branding around Mario is moving in the direction of Mario and his friends. And we're seeing that with the Yoshi game. For me, of these announcements, they are all actually very exciting to me in different ways.
Yeah.
We also got stuff about the movie. Do you have anything you want to say about the movie? I think it looks fine. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think it visually looks good. I don't think it looks any better or worse than the first movie. It was obviously just a very short teaser, but the information really being that it's going to be Super Mario Galaxy themed. And that's actually something that we probably should talk about because that does inform part of this direct and also may inform the direction that Nintendo takes the Mario series for the first part of the Switch 2 life cycle. I am excited to see what it means, obviously, for the movie in terms of what its scope is, what kind of planets they visit, what kind of environments. Like, that might... the first Mario movie, the animated one, was really visually creative.
Yeah,
they went to some cool places. They went on Rainbow Road. They went to the Donkey Kong land. Like, there was a lot of variety. But Galaxy expands the even more of what the potential environments they can visit are, what the potential worlds, potential games that they can reference, locations that they can visit. I am excited for that because it is just an unlocking of potential. But I do, and this is a very small problem ultimately, I do think it's weird that that's the second movie. Like, why not explore more of Mushroom Kingdom adjacent stuff and then go to space? But whatever. You know, they come back down for the third movie and they, like, okay, it's like still gonna make $1 billion. It doesn't really matter.
There's really no... And before a 17-year-old gets angry at me for this, there's no story to the main Mario games in a way that matters. So it's it's all iconography. So I'm actually not surprised the more I think on it that the next step for the film in the interest of being grand and living up to being a blockbuster right before the summer season. Going up to space is a great idea. It's interesting your point about it governing where Mario goes, because I actually think it's the inverse. We learned in interviews around DK Bananza that the new Donkey Kong design actually began for Bananza, and then there was sort of marching orders from there that Donkey Kong be depicted that way in the movie. So obviously the sort of discussion that most people are beating around the bush of is, well, what does this mean for EPD8 making Galaxy 3? That wouldn't be my preference. Galaxy 1 is my favorite 3D Mario game, but I feel like we've sort of exhausted what Galaxy has to offer. And I think what's really great to me about 3D Mario is that, with the exception of Galaxy 2 and 3D World to a lesser extent because it involved multiplayer, is that each entry really takes Mario to a totally new place. Not saying that the idea of a Galaxy 3 is creatively bankrupt, but I would much rather that the canvas was totally clean and the next game was something totally new.
I agree, but I also have to say that now that I'm really, really sitting with this, the fact that we're doing this year Galaxy 1+2, which we'll talk about in a second, into a Mario Galaxy themed movie, I think the cadence is really primed for a Galaxy 3 next holiday season. And to that point, I actually do think that is an interesting direction to take things. I agree it's not like my idealized, but in terms of harmony between projects, this is a really nice cadence that builds to something that will be really fucking good. If we get a Galaxy 3, especially a Galaxy 3 informed by the design lineage of not only the Galaxy games, but Odyssey and Bowser's Fury, that is something that actually might be more different. It could be bigger open world planets that have like little moons that you can travel to. Like, it might be more seamless. I don't think it'll be stage based. Like, it could feel structurally very different because of the other games that they've made since then. And, you know, we've even had Wonder and Mario Maker since then. So the creative juices of the Mario teams are really flowing right now. And so returning to Galaxy, which is a very free concept and does allow for different mechanics you can't necessarily have in quote-unquote traditional or grounded Mario games, like literally grounded Mario games, with gravity stuff. And I think that there is actually a world where a Galaxy 3 feels like a halfway step between a Galaxy and whatever that next more open or totally new idea.
I mean, there's also an argument that if you put a Galaxy 3, and when I'm thinking about Galaxy, what I'm thinking about is not only the sort of variety of ideas you're talking about, but also a more linear structure. If you put that against a DK Bonanza, which is the antithesis of that, there's an interesting harmony between those games. And again, like I said, I adore Galaxy, and it's my favorite 3D Mario. So I would not see Galaxy 3 and go, well, they fucked it up. But I feel there's still just this part of me that says, okay, well, can we push that envelope further if we're not tied to a sub-series?
Yeah, I agree.
But like you said, we're getting Galaxy 1 and Galaxy 2 at the start of October. I was hoping they'd be a little bit sooner, just because this feels like the sort of thing that, you know, you could have put out next week digitally, physical version start of October or something. Personally, like I said, I love Galaxy. I also own 3D All-Stars. I bought that when it came out. So I don't need to buy Galaxy 1 again. I'm just going to buy Galaxy 2 digitally. And I'm very much looking forward to replaying that game because I've replayed it far fewer times. I actually haven't played it since I was probably 13, because in the era of me selling a lot of games, right? And Galaxy 2 is a game that held a lot of value, so it was a good trade-in proposition.
Yeah, it still does.
So I've not had that game for like a decade, so I'm very, very excited to return to it.
Yeah, and the interesting thing for me is that I, experience-wise, end up in a different camp than you. I didn't play that game until like 2 years ago, and so it's fresh on my mind, and I liked it. I think it's a very good game, but I am not itching to buy this game or the package. I may eventually, just have them all in one place, have it in HD, have it playable in handheld mode. And I'm very glad that it's happening. Just for where I am, and not only how recently I played that game, but also how much it's costing, I think, and also how much it very clearly falls into the lineage of 3D All-Stars. But this package contains less content, but costs the same. But
costs more.
It's also the...
So $70. The bundle is $70.
Really?
They're 40 on their own or 70 in a bundle.
Oh, that's annoying. Yeah, but to that point, like this makes me reflect on 3D All Stars in a more positive light, where I'm like, well, at least that was 3 games for 60. And it also, but where both games are disappointing is that they're very bare bones packages in terms of re-releases, and but because they're Mario and they're 3D Mario, they need to be presented as premium things, unlike what this game actually more closely mirrors, which is Pikmin 1+2, which was a bundle of 2 up-resed games. It's a little bit annoying, but at the end of the day, Galaxy 2 is on Switch, and it's going to be a great way, maybe the best way to play that game. And so I'm really not complaining at all. I just probably won't engage with it personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the price is extortionate. I have a hard time engaging with Nintendo pricing discourse, because I think it is an issue that doesn't revolve around Nintendo. I think it's an issue that revolves around how much money you make, and not in a skill issue way, in a cost of living is so high way, a wages are so stagnated way, that $40 for Galaxy 2 is an insurmountable cost. Again, that's not a personal attack, that's a structural issue. Nintendo still could have priced these cheaper. I think that $30 for each would have been a much fairer proposition. I would have done 30 and 30 and then 50 for the bundle.
That would be amazing.
And I think that's what Pikmin...
That would also reflect the value proposition compared to 3D All-Stars.
And I think that's what Pikmin 1+2 is at. So I just have because I think whenever pricing stuff comes up, it's hard for me, because the price is not a barrier for me. And I'm in a privileged position to say that, but most people aren't, and I understand that. And so I think it's a very much first come, first serve. Involve yourself in politics, and involve yourself in what's actually causing you to not be able to afford Galaxy 1 and Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
The Wonder stuff, we can do a flyby also. I'm very excited for the Wonder expansion, because it's adding a lot of fun multiplayer modes. And one of my favorite things about New Super Mario Brothers on the DS was the head-to-head versus mode in that game. I used to play that actually a lot. I probably played that as much as I played the core game. So I'm really looking forward to playing this with Jean. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this, a lot of mileage. I think there's some new single-player stuff too. I don't really care about that as much, frankly. I'm really interested in this almost like Mary Magoland style addition to Mario Wonder. So that'll be a easy purchase for me next year.
Yeah, I'm going to read from the Nintendo press release here about Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Meetup in Maribel Park.
Yeah.
I fucking hate you, Nintendo. More experiences are coming to the Flower Kingdom. Enjoy a variety of attractions in Bellabel Park Plaza that lets you team up work against friends and family. Collect coins, run and hide in Phanto Tag, which is prop hunt, which is funny. Work together to pass a Bob-omb to the goal, and many more. This Nintendo Switch 2 edition adds even more content and enhancements to it as well. Stay tuned for additional info in the future. I assume that we saw a little bit of single-player levels. They'll just talk about that in the next Direct. I think this is an above and beyond expansion to what this is in terms of it being a party mode, a set of party modes for a 2D Mario game. People love the mini game attractions in New Super Mario Bros. on DS, and so this seems to be kind of a return to that. And the idea that they're focusing on this local multiplayer, it seems Rosalina is being added as a playable character, maybe more, who knows? And having the new single player. I think this is like the best case scenario for a Switch 2 edition, in my opinion. I think this probably does mean that we don't get a Wonder sequel, which is fine, ultimately. But I think this is so much ideas that they would have just done a Wonder sequel if they were planning that. And it also is weird that it's not this year, it's coming out in spring alongside the movie. That's a little odd.
Well, I think part of it is that the Mario blowout we got in 2024 and the tail in 2023, I think depleted a lot of their teams. And that was their blowout for the first movie, right? And so I think that they're thinking, okay, well, how much of this Mario content, what teams do we have that have Mario projects ready? How can we strategically put those throughout 2026? And to what extent can we lean on Mario Kart plus one, in this case being Galaxy, for the holiday, to call that good for this year's Mario content? And I think that's plenty. We also have then 2 brand new Mario Universe announcements with Mario Tennis and Yoshi.
Well, also, we forgot to mention, there's Galaxy Amiibo. There's 2 of them. They're kind of big. And there's a Mario with like a Luma going out of Jumpstar or whatever it is, and a Rosalina one, and they're sick as hell. And maybe we'll wrap this into a larger conversation about Amiibo going later.
We'll do it right now.
But Nintendo's focus. Okay, now's the Amiibo conversation. I am vindicated, Abram, because in our video where we discussed predictions for the Switch 2's life cycle, I was very bullish on the return of Amiibo. And this year, now, and I guess continuing into next year so far, is like a crazy amount of Amiibo coming from locations you would not expect.
Yeah, we got 7 announced today. We got 2 for Mario.
That's so many.
It's great. It's 2 for. I mean, obviously, look behind me. I'm very much excited for more Amiibo. 2 for Mario, 2 for Kirby that have this interesting interactive element where you can sub them in and out on different machines, which is very cute, with the promise of more to come. And then we have, for me, the ones I'm obviously most excited about are the 3 for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, which I think look excellent.
It's very cool that with all these Amiibo, they're giving them their own feel. Yeah. The Mario ones are Galaxy ones, which is interesting and kind of weird. It's a little unfortunate there's not anything Wonder Amiibo related to coincide with that. Whatever. I would have loved, Prince Florian and Elephant Mario and whatever. But so the Galaxy ones are bigger. They're Galaxy related, which is interesting. The the Metroid ones, it's her on a bike and all this stuff, and like, oh, that's crazy. And then the Kirby ones have this swappable element, so they don't feel like Nintendo's just churning these out to fit into the mold of putting out a stock standard figure. Each one is a little bit special in its own way. Plus, the Air Raiders ones, there's going to be more. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little under a dozen of them, which is crazy. So I'm not going to buy any of these, but they're very, very cool. And for me, it's the ideal of what Amiibo can be, where they feel a little more curated. They feel a little bit more like attention is being paid to them. They are costing more, which is reflected in that for a couple of reasons. But I really am very happy with the state that Amiibo is in, and the fact that they're starting to really double down.
Yeah,
after getting part way in the Switch era.
I hope we just continue to still get more, because there are just so many glaring omissions in this decade. I'm so sad that there's no Pikmin 4 Amiibo. I was so sad that there's no Kirby Forgotten Land Amiibo. Yeah. All of these things. But you're right. I mean, Amiibo for a long time now have been really diversifying themselves among the sub-series. The Splatoon sub-series in particular is, I think, probably the best and most singular of the Amiibo sub-series. But even Metroid has had some really wonderful figures, the squishy ones, or there's been a lot of that variance. And so I think over the last couple of years, the quantity has been exchanged for quality, and I think that's very exciting. Just as long as we keep getting them. And clearly we are now, and obviously for me, Prime 4 was a big game to get Amiibo, so I'm very glad we're getting them.
Well, definitely, because, we're talking about Pikmin 4 and Mario Wonder, 2 of our combined favorite games and great games in those series that did not get Amiibo, and so there was never the guarantee that Prime 4 was going to be one that they put that marketing effort into. Alongside, they're also doing an art book for the trilogy, which is cool. So there's a Metroid push there. Might as well talk about that now. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond got not only its release date for December 4th, right? Which means it's December, end of the year game. Which I think you probably agree with this. This just means that Retro's got to take as long as they can to get this game right. But also, within this very short trailer, they revealed that Samus has a Tron bike and uses that Tron bike to traverse the open world of Euros, which means that this game has way more hiding in it than we thought. They completely flipped the script of what I expect this game to be now that I've seen this 80-second little teaser.
So here's what I want to know. You're not a Metroid Prime fan. But obviously you're very interested to follow and play Metroid Prime 4. How is your excitement about the game changed personally now that you've seen this aspect of it?
I was already excited and looking forward to it, though. From the hands-on that I did at the Switch 2 thing, I thought that section was not particularly exciting. But what I've been saying since the first real trailer for this game is what's really new.
Yeah.
Like in the last one, we got the psychic abilities, which we can see what they'll do with those in the larger scope of the project. I'm holding reservation for that, but how different are those really than unlocking a new suit ability in a previous game? There was not really much presented that indicated to me that this was something that was going to fit into where I think Nintendo's strengths have lied since the beginning of the Switch generation, which is ambition and innovation in their series. It looked very much like a safe, continuing, quality sequel to a series that had been dead and stagnant for 15 years at that point. But today showed that there actually is a major change to this structurally. It's yet to be seen how that impacts the design of the game. I think we both assume that there will be a direct specifically for this game that will help elucidate some of that. But the fact that there is this next layer of reinvention for the series is what I was missing.
Yeah.
This is the late in the game Tears of the Kingdom has Ultra Hand and all this stuff in it. This is the Kirby in the Forgotten Land has mouthful mode in it. This is Super Mario Odyssey, a game that looked very cool, now has capture mode in it. This is that trailer that makes, to me, Prime 4 feel like a Switch era game. It retains that spirit where they are putting that next step forward for each of their series. So this was major for me. And I'm reserving full judgment for the project, but I think that this was easily the best trailer for it and the one that got me the most excited.
That's very. I mean, above all, I'm excited to hear that because I'm hoping that we can share a love for a Prime game, and I'm hoping 4 will be that.
Yeah.
I feel largely the inverse of you. I think this is my least favorite trailer for the game so far.
Okay.
Because all the things you're mentioning, all these different innovations and all these Nintendo games, I love all of those. Because I think all of them speak to what makes a series good already and makes them greater. You know, Cappy is a twist on how Mario power-ups work. Mouthful mode is the same thing. Yeah. And those felt like really, they felt very novel, but they also felt very organic. It's like, well, that's a awesome extension. I don't know if I feel the same way about the idea of an open world for this, because I think what moves me most about Metroid Prime is being in these very dense environments where I'm really contemplative. And so the thing that's actually excited me most, funny enough, of all of the Metroid Prime 4 materials so far, is that the website for the game had a full song, a full piece of background music for Bureaus. And I listen to that quite often because I think Metroid Prime is a series that I receive actually first in my ears before my eyes. I think that the sound design, I think the VFX, the soundtrack, that's what I think of first when I think of Prime. And it kind of puts me in this space where I'm like moved by the mood that the sound creates, and I'm paying really close attention to the environment, and I'm scanning things, and I'm fighting enemies, and I'm in these small areas that I have to backtrack through, and I'm coming to learn them very intimately. What I'm curious about is how a vastly increased scope plays with that, how much that fits in with that idea. Particularly because I think that this open world looks really bad. I just do. I think it looks completely empty, and I think that one thing that Retro Studios games have always been great at is feeling like the game that pushes the hardware the most. I think there's few games on Wii that are as impressive as Corruption, and I feel the same way about Prime 1 and 2 on GameCube. And so if Retro overextended itself a little bit and made this open world...
Frankly, I don't even understand how Tropical Freeze works on the Wii U. That's insane.
If they've overextended themselves a little bit and we have this somewhat barren open world, I think that would miss a component of what I think this makes the Prime games particularly very special. That said, unless you wanted to respond to that.
The response that I want to draw in comparison to what you were saying about mouthful mode and capture mechanic being organic continuations of what made those series special, I think there is a certain reading, and this may be the design intent, of adding something a little bit more open and explorative, which of course, my point being, that's actually what the Prime games are, is they are interconnected worlds. They are a place where you can go and find secrets. They are something where you can take sort of different routes and places. And I feel like this is just an expansion of that. I see this in a similar way that I see Breath of the Wild, in like having its dungeons be approached in any order. We don't know if it's the case with Prime, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. To me, this feels like the Ocarina of Time to, I guess Link Between Worlds, or Link to the Past is just about as structurally open, but like it feels like an Ocarina of Time evolution for Metroid Prime, where it's like it's still gonna have all the Metroid Prime bits, but it's just it's the scope is a little bit wider.
Well, it's interesting because that's not, what you're saying is true for Prime 1 and 2. It's not true for Prime 3. And this is an interesting point.
Sure, fair enough.
Prime 3 is really involved with this idea of Samus's gunship. And you get in the gunship and you can travel to totally different frigates or planets. And the game kind of takes place, it's kind of chunked up into these smaller Metroid Prime 1 or 2 style environments.
Yeah.
My interpretation of this is not far off from what you're saying in that there is a way to read this as continuity, in that what Retro is doing is they are turning the idea of traveling from place to place in the gunship into a seamless gameplay idea. And it's all being united on the planet of Euro, so you still feel that sense of place. I think as much as I love Prime 3 Corruption, an issue I have with it is that I don't feel like I come to know and love its smaller locations as much, because you're not so intimately involved in them. And I think that intimacy is an important aspect of Prime. And so if these really wonderfully curated, intimate, dense first-person environments, because these sort of Magmore caverns, lava-esque one we see in this trailer did look great, that first-person section.
Yeah.
If those are really great and intimate, but they are ultimately like spread out across a massive empty desert or massive empty environments, then I think that is going to maybe be better than Prime 3's approach, insofar that I'm still on the same planet. But if it really is like a barren overworld and then really great first-person areas, I think that's going to miss a little bit of what I'm after, personally, as a big fan of Prime.
Sure.
I'm skeptical of this aspect. But the other thing I enjoy about the bike is that it is another action element. And a way that I split from even a lot of hardcore Metroid fans is that I personally really like the continued progression, really since Prime 3, of making Samus a more action-oriented hero.
Rather than being kind of heavy and plotting. I mean, she's always had the like screw attack jump, but like adding slides and parries and a little more action elements.
Well, I mean, the thing is, this game is still going to be methodical. I mean, I think that's what the trailer in March showed us, with the psychic abilities and these slow puzzles and these dense environments. I think I'm still going to get that very classic Metroid explorative feel. But if Retro has found a way to, more elegantly than Prime 3, which had these like weird first-person shooting sections, like strictly first-person shooting sections, if they found this way to have like this yin-yang approach, where you have this more action-oriented bike stuff, and then you have this these more traditional Prime 1 style first-person areas, I think that would also sort of satisfy me. I think ultimately, if the earlier trailers have been about showing this is the game that you've wanted for so long, this is more Metroid Prime, this one is introducing elements into the soup that could either, for me, really, really work or really, really hurt my enjoyment.
Definitely. And I remember us having a conversation about this where we were talking about the pros and cons of it being something that is playing it safe and appealing almost strictly to that core and previously existing fan base, of which we saw very happy with Prime Remastered, which is a very quality project, but also because that game was being introduced to a new audience, it wasn't widely glowingly received. And I think Prime 4, to me, is what I think I was always hoping Prime 4 would be, is that middle ground, which I think so many of these series have been good at, where it still retains that spirit of the series that made older fans fall in love with it, but the recognition that expanding that audience and making it include elements that not only feel like they've learned from decades of game design, but also widen that audience because there are these new elements that appeal to younger fans or different fans. That is what has made Nintendo successful in the modern era, I think. And so now I feel like, again, as I was saying, I feel like Prime 4 is now a true in spirit Switch era game, when I wasn't necessarily feeling that before this.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I again just come back to the fact that sometimes it's just awesome if you get more of the thing that you haven't gotten for 17 years. So my main thing is, hope all you guys like it, but I care if I like it a whole hell of a lot more. And so I'll be very curious to see how that unfolds. I will say a couple other things on the edge of Prime 4. Obviously, December 4th confirmed. Always, there's been a lot of worry, a lot of second, third-hand reporting from people online that maybe the game's faced some issues, and that still very well might have been true. But we're getting it in the calendar year, slotting it in December. Very happy about that. Obviously, wanted it to be sooner, but 3 months from now is fine. Replay Prime 1 this month, Prime 2 next month, Prime 3 November, and then we're good to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, we already touched on the amiibo. I was very happy about that. Very happy to see a Silex amiibo also, because I have like back on the shelf, I have all the Metroid amiibo right now, and they're mostly iterations of Samus, and obviously we're getting 2 more here, but to also get a Silex, so I have another non-Samus Metroid amiibo. Is very cool. So this was obviously my highlight of the show, my most excited, most anticipated game ever. All very, very happy to see more, and 3 months, 3 months.
Yeah. Glad it's happening before the end of the year. That is something that would have felt unfortunate, and especially because as we'll now dig into these other new games, because we actually haven't talked about a new game yet. 2026 looks even busier than 2025, and so Prime for Beyond would have gotten really covered up in all sorts of stuff if it was releasing in 2026.
Well, I mean, to that end, we could just quickly touch on Hyrule Warriors and just talk about new stuff then after.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because Hyrule Warriors has been confirmed for November 6th. So it made the year.
Yes.
It is the big holiday game now. What
That's true.
What do you think about that? Are you looking forward to this one? Do you think that's a good game to pick for the big holiday slot?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a good game to pick for the holiday slot because, like, I don't know. It's bigger than Warriors games usually are, and it is in an IP that people recognize. But I don't think this is going to light the sales charts on fire in the way that. That sounds right. Yeah, and I think that's the biggest. But then, obviously,
4 million.
The reality is, okay, ZA is the big holiday game, and Mario Kart is the big holiday game. That's the truth. And Bananza is the big holiday game. But this is a nice grouping of games that will now be available for people to pick from. Get a Zelda game, or a Pokemon game, or a Donkey Kong game, or a Mario Kart game. Frankly, or I mean, even Kirby now, or Mario Party, right? Like they've really set themselves up for a diverse holiday lineup for the new customers, because most people are going to be getting their Switch 2s this holiday, and they'll just be picking from a game or two. So it's cool that there's all that there. The interesting thing about this game is I am excited about it because I am not someone who's been inundated by Warriors. 3 Hopes is really the only one I've put any time into, and I adored that game. And I think that what we've seen here in these better performance, in the beautiful visuals, in the canon storyline that is part of the wider Tears of the Kingdom Breath of the Wild story, I think it looks great. It looks like they're learning from their mistakes, doing something a little bit different, making it run really great. But I need to wait to play it myself and immerse myself in it and see what the scope of the game is in terms of different environments and things to, I think, feel like I really care about it. Because as it stands, it's like, we get one of these every couple years. And through the trailers, they largely look the same. I think it isn't until you play it yourself and see where minor design decisions have been made for each project to feel like its own, as I fell in love with 3 Hopes. Playing it myself will be the real test. As it stands, I'm looking forward to it. I will play it. I expect it to be good. But I kind of turn my brain off when these trailers happen.
Yeah, I think we're actually very much aligned on this one. The one I put a lot of time into was Hyrule Warriors 1 back on Wii U. I played a shit ton of that game. And I've just not really felt moved by any of the ones I played since, and I've played all of the Nintendo Warriors games since the first. So I don't know. I think it's going to be good, but it doesn't do much for me. Obviously, that much a month, I am significantly more excited for Kirby.
But those are 2 good games to come out in one
totally. And I hope that this is one that can sort of re-involve me in the world of the Warriors. Although in part, I have to say I'm somewhat more interested in Dynasty Warriors Origins actually, which is launching next year. 2 other very brief things. Tomodachi Life got another trailer for spring 2026. Not too much more to add about that.
No, we saw the character creator. I was actually surprised that it wasn't like a deep dive. Though maybe that they're waiting for the February direct, early in the year direct for that. But whatever. Like we have a window now, but we didn't really. We saw more stuff, but like it's hard to tell what the. Again, we're talking about scope. This trailer, I couldn't really tell how, I mean, I don't even really know what they would show me, but I want to know what the variety of stuff and specifically what's new in this game. As someone who's played Tomodachi Life, the original, and thinks it's okay, I'm curious to see what stuff they add to make this a more robust Switch experience. The weirdest part of all of this, not only the fact that it's just spring, whatever, we'll get a release date, it's not a big deal. No Switch 2 version confirmed yet.
Yeah.
Which, I feel like they would have said that here if it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily think it not being said today means it's not going to happen, but I'm
yeah.
I think it'll just be instructive to see if this game gets a Switch 2 edition, because I'm really curious how much Switch 1 software moving forward will get them. I was just looking at the list of 2025 stuff. I think that Tomodachi Life is the game I'm most anticipating from Nintendo's 2026.
Oh, you mean 2026 stuff?
2026.
Sure, cool.
I think so. So I'm very, very, very excited for this one. The other game to give a quick flyby to is that there's an expansion out today for Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Shadow Drop. Yeah, that was very interesting.
Bought that. I have installed, and I'll be playing that this weekend, which I'm very excited about.
Yep.
But now,
cool. It's DK Island, which I was expecting would be like the post game thing, like Mushroom Kingdom was in Odyssey. But okay, charge $20 for it, whatever. Like it doesn't really like. I'm probably not going to play it. I've got plenty of other stuff to do. It looks cool. I'm the idea of returning with the Bonanza physics and characters and mechanics to a reconfigured DK Island is very cool. So I'm very happy that happened.
I wonder exactly how many little references and things are going to be hidden in there. I'll be very excited to comb through that. The sort of like roguelike run mode I am curious about, because I actually really liked how that was deployed for Splatoon 3 last year with the side order expansion. So maybe this will be something that I feel like really compelled to run over and over again, but I'm actually just mostly interested in the DK Island half of the expansion. One other thing, actually, but then we'll talk about the new games. Virtual Boy is coming to Nintendo Classics.
Can we say it's coming to Nintendo Classics, but the reality is that you have to buy a $100 reprinted Virtual Boy that you slot your Switch into.
You can buy the $25 cardboard thing also.
Oh, they're selling that on its own. Okay, cool. Okay, well that's also another good option. And then you get to play Virtual Boy games. This is the weird Nintendo decision of this Direct. I'm really happy it's happening. I'm really happy that Nintendo is recognizing the breadth of their history, even the embarrassing parts. Frankly, the Virtual Boy is something that they don't put a lot of retrospective reflection on. And so, and also leaning into it with the idea of reprinting, it seems like almost one-to-one, like the controllers they do. Virtual Boy headsets are incredibly expensive. They are rare. They are hard to repair. The game cartridges range from stupid cheap because no one cares about them to incredibly expensive. This now makes that part of Nintendo's history, which there's a way to emulate it on 3DS, but obviously it's not the same. This makes it accessible. You have to pay $100 for it. And you have to have the expansion pass. But this is
you only have to buy the cardboard version.
You're right. My bad. But if you want the true experience, which is the kind of person that you and I are, I like this. It is something that is totally optional, but shows that Nintendo really cares about making the Switch and Switch forward generations something that is holistic, even in a way that we didn't think was even possible to bring back Virtual Boy.
It is a great novelty. It is a great novelty, and I'll be very excited to buy that Virtual Boy stand. Where this is arriving in February 17th. So I'm really looking forward to this. The reality of the Virtual Boy library is that there's really nothing good to play on there other than Virtual Boy Wario Land and Nestor's Funky Bowling, which I don't think is confirmed. That's a fun game. But yeah, I've only ever emulated this stuff on 3DS, so I'm excited to have a more authentic experience of Virtual Boy, and that's definitely a highlight of the show for me. But now, Tucker, we have 3 new games to talk about. Four.
They're
'Cause we got that Pokemon as well. Okay, so let's start with.
Yep.
Here, let's do a fun exercise. Let's both say the least exciting one. I'm just curious if we're on the same page.
Fuck.
All right,
That's
take
interesting.
a second because I have an answer. Take a second.
Okay, no, I've got one. I've got one.
Okay, I'm gonna go 3, 2, 1, go, and we're gonna say 3, 2, 1, then you say it. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Fire Emblem.
Mario Tennis.
Interesting. All right.
I like Fire Emblem.
I don't know where we go from here. I just thought it'd be interesting if we're aligned.
No, we disagree,
let's start with
but that's
Mario
okay.
Tennis.
But also to that point, for both of us, we are both very excited for our least excited of these games. Like this is not this is a low tier, seems like a cash grab, quick turnaround thing.
Yeah.
In either of those cases, neither of us are saying that. So it's just like, there's a variety, and now we get to like use our personal taste to be like, hey, let's rank these in like a slightly ordered way, even though I'm gonna play and probably love all 4 of them.
The Nintendo's lineup right now for 2026, and it's quite remarkable, is the following: Pokemon Champions, Mario Tennis Fever, Rhythm Heaven Groove, Tomodachi Life Living the Dream, Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, The Duskbloods, Pokemon Pokopia, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, Splatoon Raiders, and the Switch 2 edition of Mario Wonder.
Yep. And obviously, that's 10 games, which is insane. And this is why I'm befuddled. Abram. Befuddled is the Don Cheadle word of the day. Befuddled by the idea that this was in any way a disappointing presentation, or that anyone's worried for the 2026. Not only because there's a great variety of games, everything here looked unique and interesting and high quality, but because it's not all the games that are going to come out next year. Yeah. We still have next year's February Direct and Summer Direct and September Direct, of course, if they do Direct in that time period, which I don't think there's any reason to think they wouldn't, for them to also announce more games. They're really snowballing. Think about this. We have games for next year announced in the first Direct of this year, in the Switch 2 Direct, and in the September Direct.
Yeah.
And there'll be at least one game, probably new game, announced in the next year's February Direct, and then probably multiple in the Summer Direct. Like, we're set up. We are building a foundation that is so strong and diverse. And most of these games are probably going to release in the first half of next year, which means there's going to be a probably almost twice a month release cadence for 2026.
Well, I mean, maybe they're going to spread them out more, and we know most of the year.
Yeah.
Either way, I look at that 10-game lineup, and I'm like, well, this is 8 of these are full retail games, and then the Switch 2 edition and Champions. And of that, I already see like a full year of games I want to play, right? So
absolutely,
I'm with you. I think that the response because we strayed with Bo a little bit, so a lot of what I understand people thinking about the Direct has come from his chat and a little bit on Twitter.
Yes.
I think that the discontent towards this is coming from a dissatisfaction with the lack of knowing what the next big S tier Nintendo game is going to be.
Yeah.
The game that can.
By the way, they only have to wait until February when Generation 10 is announced.
Right.
I'll tell you exactly when the big tentpole game for next year is announced. February 27th, 2026.
But even that, I don't think that is what people are after. I think they're after Animal Crossing, or they're after 3D Mario or something. And I agree.
That's true, because Pokemon is compared to those, known quantity. You can expect that's going to happen, so it doesn't. But like, that's the reality is that is. Yeah,
but we're not even
Nintendo
talking about reality right now, right? Because like we've had ZA on the schedule forever, and that's changed nobody's opinion in 2025, and that's gonna be the biggest game of the year.
Yeah.
I just what I come back to is that those games are coming. Mm-hmm. For me, the latter half of the Switch 1's life was more interesting than the front half. I'm speaking very generally here, but
I think that's.
I say that because the front half was very much front loaded with the biggest things, and they had to do it that way. But I think we're seeing a much more shrewd approach this year, where 2025 has Mario Kart. That's the S tier game for this year. Next year, I still think it could be Animal Crossing. I don't know, but right now, what I do know for a fact is that this list of games hits so many different boxes. There's so many different genres. There's so many different teams being involved here. There's so many different IP, and that's a big thing for me. Even when we were in this season of Mario games, maybe they were all different, but they didn't hit my brain different because they're all Mario. But we're getting all these different universes, so I really can't be upset. And I would actually say that from where we stood in June through when the last game of the currently announced 2026 games releases, that's maybe the most rich slate of games I can think of from Nintendo in a very long time.
I would agree, because the interesting thing is when you think back to first half of Switch's life cycle, I would say even through partway through 2021. Like 2021, late 2021 forward is really when I think the two of us would agree, they've started firing all. There was like a 2.5 year window there before 2024 hit and slowed down a little bit, where it was just fucking all gas. This lineup is almost, in my mind, as good as 2017, 18, and 19 combined. You're getting all of these B tier IP, which was a Yoshi game and a Fire Emblem game and a Mario Tennis game. But if you remember it, that was spread between April of 2018 through the end of 2019. You're getting Pokemon games. You're getting Mario Kart, which we never got on Switch. We're getting revivals of new IP. We're getting our old IP. We're getting new IP, like Dragon Drive. Like this is an ideal lineup for me. Because it also then shows that, to your point, the big stuff is still coming and will be quote unquote icing on the cake. Whatever way you want to place that icing. Like, we're gonna get a 3D Mario, we're gonna get an Animal Crossing, we're gonna get Zelda and Pokemon and probably a Smash Bros. That's the one that's the biggest.
I don't think it's a question mark at all, personally.
Well, when we get it is definitely a question mark. Like, if we get a second half of the life cycle Smash game, that's very different than a first half of the life cycle Smash game. But I'm just so happy with this, and also because all these games looked good. I want to start with where I said was the least exciting, but in some ways it's also the most exciting, because Mario Tennis Fever is actually the new game that they announced first here in the presentation. And I'm very happy with it, because it looks like they're learning from the mistakes they made last generation. Mario Tennis Aces is a very good game, especially by the time it was finished with all of its free updates. Mario Golf Super Rush was, as we talked about quite frequently on our channel during that time period, something that very much felt like we gotta get this out before it's really fully baked. And then they took a really long gap, and it's like, what are they doing? It turns out what they're doing is batten down the hatches. We're not fucking this up again. This is going to at launch be something that is a broad and really deep and most. It looks like the most content complete, even from just this trailer, Mario Tennis game that we.
I mean, I think what it really looks like is it's the more inventive mechanics of the Switch 1 era sports games, with the breadth and depth of content of a lot of the GameCube sports games. Sure. And that's very exciting to me, because I think that Aces in particular got a bad rap, and including from me, because I think that game is actually quite good. I think that's probably my second favorite Mario sports game ever, behind Super Sluggers on Wii. I think of the new announcements, this is the one I'm most looking forward to, because I think it's the one I'm going to get the most mileage out of. Sure. I've always had a great time with Mario Tennis, even going back to the one on the N64. My sister and I would play a lot of that game. Yeah. And so I'm really looking forward to this one, not even for the involved new mechanics, which I'm sure are going to be great because they're great in Aces. Not even... Yeah.
There's like these like power-ups where your racket then has like an ability that like impacts the court in a different way, which is great, because if you think back to like the previous 3 Mario Tennis games, they were all just some iteration of make the shot more powerful. the star shots, the Mega Mushroom, and I don't remember what was an open. But this is like, you're doing something to the court. This is an environmental reaction. There's 30 of these rackets that will impact your opponent in different ways. That is actively different strategy. Also, for us, one of the big parts of why we like the Mario sports games is that they can lean into creative, inventive Mario universe, wacky mechanics combined with the straight up sports. The thing that I had a semi-issue with frankly all of the Switch sports games is that they felt a little bit more pared back in terms of how wacky they were willing to go. But this, from the get-go, not only because of this racket mechanic where you're doing fireballs and you're doing ice balls and it's impacting the court, but also this story mode that has a story about them being turned into babies. Like, this is to me, it feels like I've stepped forward. Like, if it was still Switch 1, and knowing what happened, especially with Super Rush and Battle League, I think in the announcement of another sports game, I would be a little bit trepidatious. But this seems like, because they took their time with it, and from what we've seen, it seems very expansive. Like, okay, I don't have to worry anymore. Mario sports games are now something that I can fully be interested in and excited about without the niggle in the back of my head of like, yeah, but the other ones were kind of like, they're kind of half-assed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that there's like somebody who would be more invested in this than me should do a real deep dive into the sentiment and actual quality of these Mario sports games. Because I think that the narrative around Mario sports games on Switch is way more overblown than the actual quality of those games. Like even Battle League, Battle League needed more content, but that's still a fun, solid game. I think that all they were really lacking was a focus on what surrounded the content. And I think that Camelot's focus was saying, okay, well, the problem with Mario sports games is that we've reached a point where the core mechanic needs to be changed. And then they changed it, but that's where all the energy went. And in some ways, that was enough, I think, particularly in Aces. But then with this, they're saying, okay, well, we're going to refine that mechanic, because it doesn't look like it plays all that different from Aces. No. But then...
No, to the point where when we saw it initially, the art style looked like it might have just been Aces again. There's a solid 20-second gap there, which is obviously not very long, but I'm like, are we getting a Switch 2 edition of Aces? Like, that's something that could have happened.
and what I'm most excited about are the sub modes. Like, we see this one where there's a fucking massive group of hoppos on the court, and you're hitting those back and forth. Cool. And I love that stuff. That's the sort of stuff that I'm really going to get a lot of mileage out of. That Aces only had by half, again, because the focus was just in a different place.
Yeah. And I also think, and I'll have to rewatch the direct, I think they said 38 playable characters.
They did. It's in the press release.
Which is such a fucking obscene number of characters for a sports game. Because they're usually actually, surprisingly limited in the rosters. But that's awesome.
And it was Reese on Blue Sky made this point, which is a good one, is that the Mario sports games used to more wholly involve whatever was happening in the main games. Yeah. So the Piantas and the Nokis and people like that are all over those old Mario baseball and games and things like that. So to have the Hoppos here is great. Hopefully the playable characters is not just sort of like an assemblage of NPCs. I would really like to get some specific characters. I would really love to get I'm trying to think from Odyssey, it would be super cool if you could play as Cappy or Tiara, for example. Yeah, if you could play as Prince Florian from Wonder. Still would love a Toast Arena Citizen or stuff like that. That'd still be super cool, but I really hope that...
an NPC kind of...
Yeah.
Different kind of...
NPC. So we'll see. But that game, I think, looks really, really great. Yeah. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, it's super, super cool. And again, it looks content-rich, which, despite... Even the long tail of each of those 3 Switch era sports games, despite the comparative weak launch, one of the things with all those games is that they weren't very content rich. You can say that the core mechanics were solid, and that's the biggest compliment you can give the games. The core game was fun, but content rich is something you could not call them.
Well, that's the thing, because it's not worth getting into because it's a different conversation. But I think if you look at everything in Aces, it's not that much different from this right now. But the difference is that I think that the creativity on offer is much better. There are side modes in Aces, but they're not to the extent of the Hoppo. There's a story mode, but it's not to the extent of this one.
No, it's not even to the extent of Super Rush, which had this little hub world and adventure mode and stuff. This is, again, it's a learning from the mistakes, it's a building upon, it's a refining of these things, which is just I could not be happier about. Next up, Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. I love when I wake up and a new game is announced and I'm like, that sounds fucking fake as hell. That sounds fake as hell. Bad name aside, I think this looks delightful. It looks absolutely delightful. I cannot wait for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, especially because as someone who had not played any of the Yoshi games as they were releasing, I found a lot to love in revisiting Yoshi's Island, which I think is an excellent game, and obviously people widely agree on that. But for me, it was Yoshi's Crafted World, a game that I think doesn't get a lot of conversation. That I would consider maybe my underrated Switch game of the generation. I thought that game is excellent, and we don't know if this is good filmmaking this game or not. But I'm just so excited to be there for a Yoshi game because I know that I loved the most recent one.
Yeah, I've played every Yoshi game, and I like them all to varying degrees. Even new on 3DS, even DS on DS.
Yeah. What about Yoshi's Story?
I don't like Yoshi's Story. Sorry. So
no, that's a bad game.
Put that to the side. I don't like Yoshi's Story. This is really cool to me. I think that I just feel like for me there's a bit of diminishing returns with the Yoshi games.
Sure.
Even though I thought Crafted World was excellent and probably personally prefer it to Bully World, I just feel like I don't know. I just feel like it would be interesting to apply Yoshi a little bit differently, and I think that's why Crafted World was cool to me because I like the flip side stages. I like that it wasn't strictly, it was a 2D platformer, but it kind of the level track would take turns in interesting ways. This game I think looks like much like Yoshi's Woolly World. It's relying on a beautiful art style, and it's going to be otherwise somewhat traditional Yoshi, which again I like all those games. I think this will be really good, but I don't think it just doesn't quite spark joy for me in the same way. Because I also just resonate with those Yoshi games less, even though I like them all.
Sure. Yeah. It's an interesting one where I'm very excited for this game. I do agree that I wish it was a little bit more inventive in some way, but I have to admit that we're still in this Switch era, right? And Crafted World is still gonna be sold on the eShop and sold on the store shelves and stuff. And so, if Crafted World is within the context of Yoshi, experimental Yoshi game of the Switch and Switch Forward era, a comparatively traditional one is also decently important to have. And so I think it's cool. I think it serves a similar purpose to where we get Forgotten Land and Return to Dreamland Deluxe, right? Like we're giving each kind of fan of the series a pick and choose your battles. You're going to spend us. You're going to give us $70 for Mysterious Book, or you're going to give us $60 for Crafted World, and we still get a shitload of money. To be fair,
like the difference between this and Crafted World is nowhere near the difference between like a Forgotten Land.
No, I know, but there was a lot of Yoshi fans who are big fans of specifically Woolly World and Yoshi's Island that were disappointed in Crafted World because it was different in its approach to focusing on collectibles and the environment exploration was markedly different. And so this seems to be like Nintendo being like, we have Yoshi's Island, which people love, we have Woolly World, which people love, and then we're going to follow that up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking back at the trailer now. I think the thing that speaks to me the most, obviously, I think this is the best looking Yoshi game. I like this a lot more than the arts and crafts stuff. And I love some of the characters. Cool. Like this big fucking crazy like green guy.
Oh yeah, he's hopping on.
I can't tell.
And it also has like this storybook / stop motion thing going on.
Yeah, it's very, I think it's a more interesting way to reinterpret Yoshi's World than to simply cast everything in yarn, if that makes sense. So I think that this is again, I think I'm really going to enjoy this game. And Jean loves Crafted World.
And this is spring, right?
She loves Crafted World. So
a lot of spring.
She and I will play this together for sure. Fire Emblem next.
Yeah. Is there anything else we didn't
Pokemon.
talk about? I mean, because we didn't talk about. Oh, you're right. Okay, we have two. Yeah, we have two more. Fire Emblem. What the fuck is it called?
Forgot a lot.
Fortune's Weave.
I was gonna say the Forgotten
That's
Tapestry.
another dumb fuck name. No, it is Fortune's Weave. This was a really cool trailer. It looks very high budget Fire Emblem, which is the Switch era Fire Emblem games are very interesting in that they both have very different appeals. I think where the Fire Emblem found its home on 3DS, its reinvention of 3DS, its fan base on 3DS, and Awakening is still people's major touchstone for what the identity of modern Fire Emblem is. Fates had a little bit of complications. Three Houses is definitely the best-selling one, but there definitely are detractors to it. And even for me as a fan of that game, it is something that is maybe a little too ambitious for its own good. And then Engage kind of flips what the appeal of Fire Emblem was, because it has this more colorful anime aesthetic. It tones back on its story, and it has this Engage mechanic where you're summoning previous heroes. It feels like its own thing. This, to me, feels like get a middle ground of where the production value of Engage, which even though I don't love that game, amazing production value in Engage, the hopefully narrative focus of Three Houses, and then the tone and mood of an aesthetic of Awakening. Like, this is a mixture of all of these things that I think hopefully will be the next step forward in terms of a harmony of Fire Emblem fans all finding something they like in it. Or maybe it's not as Persona-y, visual novel-y as Three Houses is, but it's not quite as no story as Engage is, and it's got the classic tone of a Path of Radiance or an Awakening, right? I think this could be the next major Fire Emblem game that everyone falls in love with. Unmute yourself.
Sorry, I had to respond to a message here.
I know, I heard it typing, and then you.
I'm very excited for this one. I think what interests me about it is as you're mentioning Awakening as a touchstone for people, it is definitely my touchstone. I've played other Fire Emblem games. I think I'm just a little bit less invested in them. I think that there's something very special about Awakening. I think partially because it was my first, but also partially just because I really like that version of the world. I like that version of the art direction. And so there's a lot to me that I specifically like about that game that hasn't quite been recaptured. So this looks like it's doing that in the art direction. It's doing that. I think that graphically it's taking a lot of the more immersive elements from Engage, the way the camera moved down into the battles. I really enjoyed that. And it looks like it's being extended here. And so ultimately, I just think that Fire Emblem is a particular headspace I get in, a particular emotion it activates for me. And so that's why it's least exciting for me, not because I don't like Fire Emblem, just because I know that experience. But I'm excited to have another Fire Emblem.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I think it looks great, and this is another. This is actually I think just vaguely 2026 game. My guess is that means July or something like that, a little bit later in the year. Which is fine. That's okay by me.
An interesting point about that actually is in Nintendo's press release, they put this as the third biggest bullet point behind the Mario 40th anniversary generally, and then the Mario movie.
I wonder if this is ranked anyway. I kind of doubt it because Mario Tennis Fever is below Tom. Oh no, Tomodachi Life I think should be higher. I think, Virtual Boy's last. That makes sense.
I mean, I don't know how they rank it. That might be just totally might not matter. But
Metroid Prime 4 is not bigger than Pokemon Pokopia. And Amiibo for Kirby Air Riders is not bigger than Mario Tennis Fever.
So I don't know. There's no order to it, but I'm looking forward to this. I think again, because what I'm partially wondering is I'm saying, okay, well, I want Metroid Prime 4 to be more Metroid Prime. But then I'm less moved by these other series that I like being more of their series. I think the difference for me, just as I'm sort of trying to work through my own thoughts, is that for one, Prime 3 was so long ago that a more standard return is interesting to me. With Yoshi, this will be the third Yoshi platformer of this style in the decade, or in the last 10 years. Woolly World crafted to this. And then even Fire Emblem, like, I didn't beat Engage, but I could have, and I probably should go back to it at some point. That wasn't that long ago either. It'll be probably about 3 years.
Over 3 years. 3.5, and that's the longest gap between Fire Emblem games.
And so
Or no, it's not. No, because if Three Houses to
it depends on how you count it. If you want to count
similar.
Three Hopes or not.
Yeah, it's true. Or if you want to Shadow Dragon the Blade of Light.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
There really are well, actually, I want to talk about this before we get to Pokemon. There were no new Switch 1 games announced today. I'm actually very surprised that Nintendo seems to be just letting Switch 1 coast off into the wind with a couple games.
Kind of. I just don't entirely agree with that assessment, just because, like, you're literally right. But if you're talking about getting Galaxy, Pokemon, Metroid still this year on Switch 1, that's quite a great lineup. And then next year,
I agree with that.
One of the most significant games announced by size of title, by sales potential, is Tomodachi Life. That's a Switch 1 game. You get Rhythm Heaven, and you also get Pokemon Champions. So
that's true. Yeah, no, you know what? That is fair. That is fair. I think what's interesting is that this is also all Switch 2 stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, Tomodachi Life didn't get a Switch 2. It might, as we mentioned, but that's neither here nor there. But you're right. The difference is when we were looking at 3DS games being announced, is they were 3DS exclusive software that made the libraries, even in that early Switch era, late 3DS era, feel very different from one another. But really, it's just like, if you have Switch, you get access to less games right now. If you have Switch 2, you get access to a fuckload of games.
Yeah.
But for Switch 1 owners, like, you get some cool stuff. You get stuff. But it's not. It's just a limited. It's not a unique, but it's a limited library.
Yeah, and I think that's always what it was going to be, just by the merit of the way the systems talk to each other. You also get Virtual Boy.
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
that's true. Yeah, I wonder how that thing works if it's Switch or Switch 2. Maybe there's just like two different.
There's probably like a piece of plastic you put in that makes up the difference of the size between the screens. Then you put the Switch one in there, I'm assuming. But also you can play a lot of this stuff via game share, which is interesting.
That is true.
You can play Hyrule Warriors this year.
I
mentioned another one. I can't remember what it was.
I think it's Pokopia, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I think that's such a great feature. It's such a great feature. It's just...
Yeah. It's one that's hard for us to, at the stage of our life we're in, and the people that we spend physical time around, to fully appreciate that as part of this Switch 2 era. But it is something that is very consumer friendly, is forward looking, is emphasizing local multiplayer and family engagement more so than any other company is right now, and even in some way more than they did in the Switch era, because this is probably something they could have done during the Switch era, but it wasn't until Switch 2, and the fact that they talk cross-generationally, even Switch 2 specific games, like essentially DS download played onto previous generation systems, like this is actually something that is, you're right, I think it deserves more praise and conversation, but it's just difficult for the hardcore fan base to engage with it, because the main thing is, for like people like you and I, like if I want to play with friends, anyone that I'm going to want to play these games with are going to buy their own copy anyway, and are going to have a Switch 2 anyway, so we're not able to experience what the true goal of this is to widen out the access of the games, even through disparate generation
exactly hardware. I think especially for
awesome.
families, if you got several Nintendo players in your household, and maybe you could afford to get one Switch 2, but you've got 2 or 3 people in that house that want to play together, that's a great solution. But then Pokemon Pokopia is the last game that we have to talk about. This is
the surprise of today. I'm very excited for it. I think they look very quality. Mario Tennis Fever, Fire Emblem with the Weave of Darkness, and Yoshi and the Mysterious Weave. But all of those are, compared to what we're talking about with Prime 4, those are pretty safe, actually. They are continuations. They are Switch 2 editions, iterations of series that people like, and they don't seem to be really pushing the bounds too far. They are higher polished versions of what we got before, which is, in some cases, a good thing. What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
What the fuck, Nintendo? What are you doing? For like 4 different reasons. This is a bizarre, interesting, and I think very exciting game, because I think this is going to be, well, compared to Mario Tennis, Fire Emblem, and Yoshi, obviously this is going to sell more, but I think, I haven't heard conversation much about it yet, obviously, because we've been talking to each other. I think this has the secret potential to be one of the biggest games of the Switch 2 generation.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm just kind of over Pokemon, and so when something Pokemon related like really, gets in my brain, I'm very excited, because it's something I've been around my whole life, and so for me, I'm really interested in this. I'm really interested in opportunities to kind of live alongside Pokemon, and to make this little world for them where I get to build them their little houses, and they help me develop the land. I think it's a great idea that plays on things we're familiar with, plays on Minecraft, and plays on Animal Crossing, and all the other games like
very Dragon Quest Builders,
Stardew Valley, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, but it's like still very singularly Pokemon. That's true. Yeah. I really like that. I think you could have made a much more basic Pokemon farming life sim game than this.
Oh, of course.
And to really go the extra mile to play as this Ditto character who's learning moves from these other Pokemon, who's living with them, who is what was I gonna say? I forget. It's a really good point.
The Ditto character.
What's Ditto character? It was going to be
Well,
about. It wasn't really about Ditto character. It's about this. Isn't just Gen 1.
mhm.
It's all of them.
Oh,
It's
true. Yeah,
everybody's here. And I
Yeah.
think that's great. I really am taken by this game. I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with this. And I really hope that the opportunities to build together in multiplayer
Yeah.
are quite extensive.
Yeah, I think they, well, in the best case scenario, I think they will be. There's always a chance because sometimes Nintendo's weird with the way that they do their multiplayer, and sometimes Game Freak is weird in the way they do their multiplayer. That this isn't that, but I think both teams, both Nintendo and Game Freak, I think have actually gotten better at how they engage with their multiplayer, how they allow you to engage with your friends in multiplayer games. You think back to early Switch 1 and how a lot of games online actually wasn't very good. And then how they expanded and improved upon that, of course, across the generation. How, local multiplayer only in Let's Go goes to the weird Sword and Shield thing where it's like ghosts running around the wild area, to Scarlet and Violet, which is active in-person multiplayer. And this being something that is obviously mirroring something like Animal Crossing or Dragon Quest Builders, those are games that they very much foreground multiplayer in their experiences. I think this is going to be, again, I think it's one of the biggest games of next year. And this is, again, it's a totally new idea. We've been waiting so long for what that next major Pokemon spinoff is going to be. And frankly, in terms of a new idea, I would say Pokken also still a much smaller game in terms of popularity. Then I think you have to kind of look back to DS and Wii era.
For the last major one?
For last new major. Well, I mean, I don't know. It depends on what major is for
Pokemon Go and
for sales scale, and that's a good point. Right, the mobile games, but then even the spin-off games that have happened this generation are incredibly hit or miss in terms of you're getting really frankly some of the lowest effort cash grabby eSwap that Nintendo has published is Magikarp Jump and Pokemon Quest and Pokemon Friends, and is this the state of Pokemon spin-offs? And has Nintendo forgotten about Pokemon spin-offs? And even Detective Pikachu Returns, I think, is a really dumb game. This is a full force effort into making another Pokemon game that will sell not as well as the core Pokemon game, but
could sell
probably
pretty well.
It might be under the core Pokemon games, the best-selling spin-off game.
Yeah, I mean, the Pokemon Company has clearly been interested in mobile for so long. That's where everything has lived. Unite was a massive deal, too. But
true. Oh, you know what? That's a good
Unite is a Switch game, yes, but it's also a mobile game. I mean, it's all on mobile, and the Switch is...
And so will Champions.
So will Champions, right?
But that's a really good idea.
Yeah, and I think Champions looks really bad, I have to say.
Okay.
But that's neither here nor there. I just think that the Pokemon companies... I had sort of long given up the idea that the Pokemon Company is that interested in bringing a number of spin-offs to the core console players.
Yeah.
And I still think that it was nice, if you go back to DS and there's a real plentiful amount of Pokemon spin-offs.
Oh, of course, yeah. Tons of them.
But, if we're going to get them few and far between like this, if this is sort of the ambition and that we're going to see out of them, then I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
So, very much excited to play this next year.
Yeah, and I'm also excited for it to be something that is alongside other information.
Yeah.
In this, just a showcase, we got this new game revealed and a little bit of pre-release information for Legends of ZA. We saw the Kalos starters having Mega Evolutions, all of which I think look pretty cool. No new other information for that game otherwise, which is fine. Oh, actually, it's not true. They announced the DLC for that game, which is fine.
People not happy about that.
In what way? In that it's announced before it comes out? Well, that just means it's coming sooner. What the fuck do you want?
My thing about this is they do a paid expansion for basically all the Pokemon games.
Yeah, of course.
That they were working on those expansions for Sword and Shield or Scarlet and Violet before those games came out, man.
Yeah.
You being told this now or being told this in January doesn't change the content. So I just think it's a silly complaint. Yeah,
it's going to release in summer next year, just like Isle of Armor released in summer after Sword and Shield came out. I
think people are so hung up on taking principled stances that don't matter. You can't show DLC before a game comes out. Why not?
Yeah, but also, some teams do. Like I believe was it Fire Emblem or was it Xenoblade or something? Like this does happen
Yeah,
sometimes.
I just
So
I just can't be bothered.
yeah, but it also is cool that Pokemon stuff is being more integrated into
Yeah.
Nintendo Directs. This could have carried, and maybe should have carried the previous Pokemon Presents, which was really weird.
Exactly. It is interesting that it was here and not. Yeah,
Not there, or even not in February, right?
yeah. I wonder if the Koei
it.
Tecmo involvement has anything to do with it. You know,
Maybe, but again, that's also very interesting. Nintendo and Koei Tecmo are becoming much closer. I don't. This actually might end up being, or no, I guess it's not AAA Game Studio. I think they would have specified that. AAA Game Studio is the new Koei Tecmo team that's huge, making Age of Imprisonment. But I like the fact that Nintendo's forming these bonds with these third-party companies.
Yeah, and just Nintendo and Pokemon Company working more closely together. It's interesting, but yeah, and then we've gone over everything consequential here. I thought it was a very good show. I'm just very excited to be a Switch 2 player. I just can't.
Yeah.
At a certain point, I just can't relate to a lot of the upset online. I just don't understand it. Or well, I can. If I were to live in a world of delusion, I can understand the issues these people are having. But I just think that when you look at what's in front of you, and this isn't even how a lot of people talk about, or even what we'll even do is we'll say, take a year like 2023. Oh, there's nothing for the holiday. Just wait till June and you're going to get it. You will, but right now you don't have to rely on the hope. You can rely on the 15 games Nintendo has announced to be publishing between now and it's 5 still in the calendar year in the next 3 months, and then 10 across the course of 2026 with, as you're saying, no doubt there will be more. So
of course.
I can't be anything other than extremely happy.
Yeah, I think this is, for me, best case scenario. It's a lot of Nintendo listening. It's a lot of from the positions of Pokemon Company and Intelligent Systems and Game Freak, these teams seemingly learning from mistakes of things that were sold very well on Switch 1, but were controversial in some ways. If you take those and give, like, again, Intelligent Systems taking a little bit extra time with this, Camelot take a little bit extra time with it, Game Freak definitely actively listening to some of the problems that Scarlet and Violet specifically had. I think it's just good news all around, and it does the opposite of what we thought was going to happen when we made our predictions 2 days ago. To the point we're making, they have so many games announced, and they already had so many games announced, that I thought that there was a real strong case for this not being a new content forward show. That they've already announced Splatoon Raiders. Okay, let's get some information on that. We thought that Rhythm Heaven Groove would be a first 3 months game. I don't think that's necessarily the case anymore because we didn't see it here. That could have been here. That the Tomodachi Life could have gotten a much bigger presence. That we could have seen Duskbloods. And then we saw part of that, but we also saw way more new stuff. We got Switch 2 editions, we got collections, we got new entries in many different franchises. Sports game, strategy game, 2D platformer, surprise Pokemon spin-off, life sim, Animal Crossing game. Like, this is for me a real best case scenario. I do think that I understand the want for there to be that closer Animal Crossing teaser, but like that game's gonna come.
Yeah,
that's gonna be first chunk of 2027, and in the intervening time, we're gonna have a Tomodachi Life that fills kind of that niche, and a Pokemon game that kind of fills that niche.
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't want to belabor this point too much more, in part just because I'm tired. but I just have a hard time understanding how you criticize this slate of games unless you are more interested in Nintendo as a idea and a point of discourse than a company that puts out games. Because I have a hard time looking at this slate and seeing how anybody with any taste in Nintendo doesn't have at least a couple things they're interested in. I'm not saying you have to be interested in all 15, but I just don't see how, no matter what your franchise of choice is, no matter what your genre of choice is, that you don't have things in this lineup to look forward to. I just have a really hard time with a lot of the responses I'm seeing online. And again, I don't have to come. I can't arrest you for not being interested in stuff. But I just think there is a point where the discourse is not about the content. The discourse is about an imagined as an imagined outcome.
Yeah.
And I understand living in that world, but when there is so much in front of us, it's frustrating that we can't get deeper into it. But again, I'm responding also to knee-jerk reactions. Conversation's going to change as people start putting out their discussion videos like ours. More people have time to sit on the news. It's all knee-jerk right now. I get that. But I just, I don't know. I think Nintendo's in a no-win situation.
Do you think when people reacted negatively initially, and I guess still do, to Sportsmates, would you call that a knee-jerk reaction?